BeTheTalk, episode 141, featuring Bill Roche. Welcome to BeTheTalk. We go behind the talk 7 days a week for tips and techniques to help you change the world. I'm Nathan Eckel, and a talker myself. I'm interviewing others who change the world with their talk. You can too, even if you've never given a talk before. Let's get started with today's show. We are live with Bill Roche. Bill, are you ready to talk?
I am. Looking forward to it.
Bill Roche is the co-founder of PowerPlay Young Entrepreneurs, a nonprofit organization committed to empowering young people with an entrepreneurial mindset. For almost 2 decades, Bill has specialized in designing K-12 curriculum-based resources related to financial literacy, entrepreneurship, and social responsibility. Bill works with education and business leaders throughout the country to create community partnerships that are scalable and impactful. Bill Roche, welcome to the talk.
Thanks, Nathan. Great to be here.
Your talk is called The Power of an Entrepreneurial Mindset. I love your opening anecdote. You walked into a classroom and there was one kid with his arms crossed and he wasn't going for it, and you were laying out this amazing opportunity for them, and you had to convince them. And I love it because once you convinced them, you came back into that schoolroom and everybody was ready to go. It looks like you found the right decision maker for the whole group. Please take us behind the talk.
You know, that's a great way to open it. It's what was so powerful about that experience was I offered the students the opportunity to start a business. And for all of them, it was very new. They'd never done this before. And most of them were on board right away, but this one particular boy was a student that just didn't participate in school. And he really responded to the idea of being able to be in charge, to take control of his learning, to earn profits and actually be able to keep them. And it was that sort of connection, that hook, that got his imagination and really got him to jump on board.
Now, you got to watch the Talk Universe to hear what we're talking about in a little bit more detail. You can do that on your own time. I want to know from Bill, do you feel like it was almost with this individual student? Obviously, it seems from my perspective, and I could be wrong, it seems like he was almost the decision maker for the whole group, either in terms of leadership or his influence after you did whatever you did to convince him. What did you really do to let him know that you were serious? And did you think that he was, concerned or afraid to believe that this was almost too good to be true? Do you feel like you were speaking his language, or was there something else that won him over?
Well, I think in education today, students are looking for authentic learning experiences. So they want to be learning about things that are real to them. They want to take control. They want to be in charge. And so when we're thinking about the importance of entrepreneurship and helping kids develop that skill set, we really need to create that environment where they truly are empowered to lead the whole process. And that's what captured his imagination. In normal school, he didn't have that freedom, and it wasn't interesting to him. It wasn't relevant. So by using entrepreneurship as a way to teach, we actually are teaching through entrepreneurship. It's a really effective way to help kids develop, very practical skills, but also to be engaged in learning.
Bill, my last interview was with Doreen Lorenzo, who's an assistant dean at the University of Texas at Austin. She does design thinking, and it's exactly the same thing that you're teaching, only she's doing it at a collegiate level. And we just had an entire interview where we were talking about empowering students to do the validation, do the outcomes-based, do the pivoting, have that kind of thinking. And I am just thrilled that you're starting them off younger, at a very young age. I know you do K-12 curriculum. So how is that working for you? And is there any kind of special modification in terms of the pedagogy of that that you would do differently than, an adult-based curriculum?
Well, it's really interesting. We really believe in the value of starting young. So the program that I referenced in my TEDx talk was actually an entrepreneurial program called PowerPlay Young Entrepreneurs, and it's designed for grades 4 through 8 classes. So just like you said, it's all about design thinking. The students are empowered. They have to come up with a business plan. They develop a product, and they move through that design thinking process in the sense that they come up with an initial concept. They have to create a prototype and do market research. But the most exciting piece, Nathan, is that they actually get to implement their businesses. So it's that opportunity to sell their products, to create marketing displays and interact with customers that's so real and impactful for the students, because they get a chance to experience the impact of all their decisions. And they're looking at their businesses and they're interacting with customers. And like you said, they have to pivot when they come up with different challenges along the way. It's really the opportunity to think on their feet, to learn in a hands-on way, and then to reflect on their experiences and develop the skills and the mindset that's so important to their futures.
You know, Bill, I love this because just looking back at my own journey, when I was in grade school, it was all theoretical, probably the same for you. It wasn't until, I got through my undergraduate and went into graduate school that things all of a sudden became very project-based, very practical, very hands-on. And Talk Universe, you can participate in something like this no matter where you are. Just join a startup weekend or some other type of incubator in a city near you or a town near you. These things are happening. So, Bill, you're working with students at the elementary level. I know some students are really good at reading. They're really good at the books. What does a program like yours that is so hands-on and so practical and so holistic do for those students? Are they able to not grow out of the book smartness, but are they able to add on and balance out that and become even more capable?
It's an awesome question, because I think that to me is the most exciting part of the program. The students are in charge, and they'll, in the initial parts of the project, they'll come to you and they'll say, hey, you know what, or they'll ask the classroom teacher, what's the right answer, or how do I do this? And when they first find out that, there is no right answer, and, when you're an entrepreneur, entrepreneurship can be quite messy, and there's no real right answer or right path. You have to figure out what works for you and be able to adjust and make changes along the way. So for strong academic achievers, they love the program, but they find this really difficult because they're used to working to getting the right answer. They're used to memorizing and preparing for tests and so on. So this hands-on approach is very challenging for those strong academic achievers. Now, on the other side, students that maybe struggle in school, maybe they're below grade level, or maybe they even have behavioral problems, these are the students that we see really excelling in the program. There's an incredibly high engagement level as a result of them being able to think outside the box and work towards their strengths as opposed to try to memorize and find the right answer. So you're absolutely right. That environment that's so needed today it really mixes up the classroom and puts everybody on an even playing field.
Well, Bill, I don't know which type I'm more thrilled by, because on the one side you've got the kid that you opened up your story with his arms crossed and didn't believe, and then he became your brilliant student and won the whole class over and got all kinds of things done. You've got the street smart kids, I'll just call them that, who are already outcomes based. They're big picture based. They want action, and you're giving them a way to have that action and apply it to an amazing outcome. I don't know if I'm more thrilled about that, or you're taking the book smart high academic achievers who a lot of times hit the wall. They don't make the best interns or entry level or first time employees just because they're so used to studying and testing for the test instead of the outcome. I don't know which one I'm more thrilled by, but I think it's safe to say you're taking the dysfunction in both of those, and you're actually empowering everybody together, and you're infusing a real social dynamic and a social structure that is so important for being a fully functioning adult. Would you explain it that way, or would you use kind of a different way to explain that? And I'm assuming you agree with that, but feel free to put in your own thoughts here.
No, I definitely agree with what you're saying, and I think what's so important, and I think the key distinction we need to be making, is that creating this sort of learning environment early and allowing kids to build those muscles over time is so critical. You know, Nathan, there's a recent study that just came out from Dell that indicated that 85% of the jobs that will exist in 2030 haven't been invented yet. And when we think of the magnitude of that issue, not only in terms of the significance of that number, but just how short time we have, like how quickly that's coming, it's quite amazing just to think about what we need to do to prepare kids for this new uncertain job environment that they're going to be going into. So kids need to be, like you said, they have to have strong communication skills, but they also have to have creativity and critical thinking abilities. They need to be able to solve complex problems. And really what we're looking at is young people today, as they enter into this changing world, are going to need to have that entrepreneurial mindset. They're going to need to be flexible and adaptable. They're going to have to think about how they can identify opportunities and have the confidence to follow through. But really what it comes down to is they're going to have that mindset where they're constantly growing and improving and really using that as a method of operation, both in work and in life.
We've been enjoying this conversation with Bill Roche, whose TEDx talk is called The Power of an Entrepreneurial Mindset. We're going to be right back because it's time for the Blitz Round. People ask, how could I start a 7-day-a-week podcast? It's because of what I've learned from my mentors. Some of the best mentors in history aren't around anymore. They've left hours of one-on-one mentoring behind in their books. Each month at Classics on Tap, I record a new chapter from a classic business book to help you make a difference. Download your first chapter at classicsontap.com. And we're right back with the Blitz Round. This is when I ask Bill a series of either-or questions related to the preparation and performance of his talk. Are you ready, Bill?
I am.
Were you selected to speak or did you apply?
I applied.
Are you a memorizer, an improviser, or a blender?
I'd say a blender.
How so?
Well, I definitely memorized in terms of having a really clear layout of the talk, but I also improvised as I went through just to create. I noticed something that was resonating with the audience, so I expanded on that in the middle of the talk.
So you were prepared and present at the same time.
Absolutely.
So did you have nerves, or were you in the zone, or neither, or both?
I would say both. Throughout the day, I was the last speaker, so throughout the day I was rather relaxed, but I was a little bit nervous going on stage for sure.
So today, all of my interviews pretty much have been closing speakers. So what advice would you have for closers? Because that really, I closed the talk that I was at. It's an honor to be selected. They don't put just anybody as a closer. So what's your advice for other closers?
I think it's important to take some time, in the last hour before you go on stage, just to be on your own and get focused and really get in that zone, like you said. I think that was something that is really critical, especially when you're at the end of the day.
Bill, this is the cut for time question. What was the most painful part of your talk that you had to cut out?
Oh, you know what? The most painful part was the time. They're so strict on the time. And I think something happened there, and I had about 6 minutes of my talk to finish in about 3 minutes. So I really had to rush through the end.
That timer. Beware the timer, friends. What's a tip,
yes.
a technique, or a tool that helped you?
I think having having the stories. My talk was really based on a series of stories that kind of told the overall, presented the overall narrative. So having stories really helps and engages the audience.
What's would you say is the biggest challenge of your talk?
The biggest challenge was just fitting all the content into that 18 minutes. There was so much I wanted to say, so really being selective and being succinct in terms of the message.
Bill, we all know it's a performance, so what is the most unexpected, strange, or just plain weird thing that happened during or right before your talk?
That's a good question. You know what? The strange thing for me was that I couldn't see. I didn't expect the lighting to be so strong, so I couldn't see the audience, and that was really strange because I love to be able to read the audience, and just all I could see were lights. So that was very, very unusual.
We've been enjoying this Blitz round with Bill Roche. His talk is called The Power of an Entrepreneurial Mindset. And if you want to connect with Bill, you can do so through our show notes page at BeTheTalk.com. His website is called PowerPlayForSuccess.com, PowerPlayForSuccess.com, as well as we'll have a link to his talk, The Power of an Entrepreneurial Mindset. And we'll be back with just a moment with the final word of advice. Everyone wants to change the world, but not everyone knows the first step. Before you can change the world with your talk, it has to be selected. So grab the templates, timelines, and tools that I use to get my talk selected at BeTheTalk.com. And we're back with Bill Roche and the final word of advice for Talk Universe.
You know, start teaching young kids to have an entrepreneurial mindset, and then step back and watch them flourish and see how they put their unique marks on the world.
Bill Roche, thanks so much for coming on the talk today and sharing your wisdom with Talk Universe.
Thank you, Nathan. Great to be here.
Thanks for listening to Be the Talk. For tips and resources to help you change the world, go to BeTheTalk.com. See you tomorrow.